Hi, my name is Dr. Brad Reedy. I'm the co-founder and clinical director of Evoke therapy programs. Today I wanted to talk about a principle that I've been thinking about lately, which is the limitations that a parent has. I think a lot of parents feel guilty, sometimes even during parent education courses or lectures of mine. Parents will talk about how far away they feel they are from the ideal that we might be discussing, and they're paying with a great deal of guilt because this job of being a parent is so important. Nobody do we love more than our children. And so as I've listened to that and wondered about it, I've asked myself the question about how does a parent's limitations impact a child? And the first thought I have is that it's really impossible to be omnipowerful, omnipresent, all capable. And so if children need us to be all capable, then they're all doomed because none of us are all capable. So then again, where does the limitation come in? And when I think about it, when I think about how we parent sometimes, I think there's a key principle here that I'll talk about as ownership. And I think when we do the opposite of ownership, when we put it on the child, and I'll discuss that in just a moment, I think that's when it does its most damage. A lot of times people ask me, how long does it take you after meeting a client to kind of understand their background, understand their childhood? And I say sometimes it happens very quickly, sometimes it takes a little while, but if you listen, you can start to hear the messages that people heard in their childhood. They'll say phrases like, I don't want to seem like I'm whining, right? I don't want to seem like I'm ungrateful. They'll qualify what they're saying because in their background, they've been told that they are those things when, for example, they express feelings. So they've taken on themselves their parents' limitations. Instead of the parent saying, look, I'm just overwhelmed right now, a parent might be inclined to say, you're being needy, or you're being selfish, or you're overreacting. Right? That's not me as a parent owning my stuff. That's me asking you to be smaller so that I can tolerate you. And as a parent, there's no greater pain that we feel than when our child is suffering, when our child is struggling. So it's tempting to want to fix it, to want to make it better. But inadvertently, we're also telling our children not to feel. So many adults that I've worked with over the years have said to me that in their families growing up, they weren't allowed to feel or feel something, feel anger, feel disappointment, even discouragement, whatever it is. And I'm confident that none of these families had listed on the refrigerator door rules about not feeling. But what it looked like was the parent tried to talk them out of it. They tried to fix it because the parent lacked the empathic capacity to hold them, to sit with them, to be present with them. And to be present with an other takes great capacity. I want to read you this quote from a book by J.D. Gill called The Misery of the Good Child. And I think it illustrates this point very well. She says this, all persons have limits. Consequently, all parents have limits. It is routine for us to discipline or punish our children when they exceed our limits. Unconsciously, our goal in doing this is to get them to behave in ways that we can tolerate and manage. Besides, it makes our load lighter. It is routine in these interactions for us to feel that we are helping the child by our actions. They can't just go around upsetting people. The world, after all, has limits, and the child needs to learn about these. This is a way of saying that parents have different bandwidths of what they can and cannot handle. Some parents are extremely rigid and can only manage a little breadth. Some, on the other hand, can manage a wide range with seeming ease. From the child's perspective, it is not so clear. First of all, the child picks up a mixed message. The over-the-table message is, this is for your own good. The under-the-table message is, this is my limit, I can't go any farther. That is, the parent is being incapable. And what now? The child is likely to be puzzled, if not frightened. So, going back to it, when you struggle, when you're frustrated, when you're overwhelmed, it's okay for you to own it. I can't tolerate this, I can't do this right now. I'm not comfortable with this arrangement. That's even a way that I've been talking with parents about boundaries this last year. When you're setting up boundaries for your children, the way that you state it is, this is what I need to feel okay in this situation. I'm not comfortable with you using the sharp knife to the young child, or I'm not comfortable with you coming out after 11 o'clock at night. You're owning your own limitations. And you're setting up a boundary to take care of yourself. You're actually taking care of yourself so they don't have to take care of you, ironically. When we don't set boundaries to take care of ourselves, we end up with resentments. We end up with other kinds of emotional coercions, guilting other people to try to get them to take care of us. But when we take the stand to take care of ourselves, and that's what boundaries are. Boundaries are about self-care. When we do that, then we're taking on the responsibility of taking care of ourselves in that interaction. And so what our children learn is that's mom and dad just being mom and dad. It's similar to the principle that I talk about in my book, The Journey of the Heroic Parent, where I talk about the idiot parent, right? Owning your own idiocy, your own limitations. And I don't mean that as a self-deprecating kind of thing. It's just, this is my best human effort. Now, this is the best I can do, my best guess. I say when a parent admits that they're an idiot, a few things happen. First of all, it's very liberating. You don't have to be right. You just get to be a self. And lastly, admitting that you're an idiot or owning your own idiocy or humanness is something that will never provoke an argument from your child. So there's no battle. But you get out of the arena of right and wrong and you get into the arena of this is what I need to feel okay. These are my limitations. I'm owning them. And then we find ways to go take care of ourselves, because the difference between the parent and child relationship is I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to be there for you. And it's not your job to take care of me. That's my job. And so I'm not going to ask you to do something that my parents didn't do. I'm not going to ask you to give me the intimacy that I might need from a partner or from a spouse or from a friend. I'm going to take care of that somewhere else. I'm going to feed myself spiritually and emotionally so that I can be there for you. And when I can't, when it goes up against my capacity, when my bandwidth is taxed, I'm going to own it. But it's so hard to own it, right? We want to be right. I had a father walk up to me years ago after a meeting, and he asked me for some research on marijuana use. And I said, yeah, okay, why do you need that? He said, well, I have a young adult son living in the basement, smoking pot all day and playing video games. And I said, why don't you just tell him that you're not okay with it? And the father said to me, is that enough? And what I heard in that is this father's story where what he felt wasn't enough. He had to be right. And we know what would happen if I provided him with some literature, some research. His son would have come back with a rebuttal, with another set of research or theory that argued the opposite point. But when you say in your relationships with your children, this is what I'm comfortable with, this is what I need to feel okay in this situation, in my home, in this relationship, you're taking on the courageous responsibility of your own individuation. My mother said to me some time ago, she said, you'll never love your parents as much as you love your children. And it was such a liberating gift for her to share that with me. I talk with parents all the time that I'll never be able to compete with you about how much you love your child. You win that all the time. There's nothing more powerful for most people than the love from a parent to a child. But that doesn't always lead to clarity. Because our own lack of differentiation, because of our own wounds, we're at times not seeing clearly the difference between ourselves and our child. And that's where this capacity, this limitation comes up. If we make it about our child, if we make them have to get smaller so that we feel okay, they grow up thinking something's wrong with them, that they're upsetting the people that love them the most. 20 years ago, I talk about this. 20 years ago, I thought my mother was an average mother, the typical product of her time. I realize today, because of the work that I've done on myself, how much more crazy my mother was. But the interesting thing is, I love her now much more than I did 20 years ago. That the love is deeper and richer between us. So again, another illustration, being a human does not prevent or preclude love. It is our own humanness, our own imperfections, our own pain that often connects us to other people and allows other people to connect to us. In the end, it becomes our job to take on the responsibility of our own differentiation. Like Gandhi said, that a coward is incapable of exhibiting love. It is only the prerogative of the brave. Fusion, going home, that's easy. Loving another's otherness is hard. And if we love other as other, we've taken on the heroic responsibility of our own individuation, our own differentiation. So that's our task, to look at our own history, to unravel it, so that we don't take care of that or try to heal that in the context of the parent-child relationship we have with our children. And that's where the idea from my book, The Journey of the Heroic Parent, comes from. This is this basic concept, which is that no matter what your story, the heroic journey is always inward. I hope this has been helpful for you. Good luck to you, and take care. Bye-bye.